Gassama's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassama finds Gassama.
It's now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
The wait for 3 points away at Plymouth is over. 3 goals, a clean sheet, and with it, a win and the 3 points that we desperately needed. Not so much for an assault on the playoffs. We can't talk about that P word, of course, but just a huge confidence boost to take into these next couple of games. Also, can we play you every week, Plymouth? 7-0 on aggregate, if you want to put the two together. Anyway, hello and welcome to the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me to discuss said 3-0 win is Matt. Matt, how's things? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, James. Not too bad, thank you. I think the most surprising stat of that 7-0 is the fact that there's a nil at the end of it, rather than it being 7 goals scored. I think it's the nil at the end of it that has come as a surprise. But yeah, really good weekend down in Plymouth.
Yeah, do you know what? A couple of people saying, is that the first double we've done this season? No, Derby as well. And do you know what as well? Danny's had a knack this season so far of, teams that we haven't won at for quite a while. He's having a knack of resetting that counter, hasn't he? Because, like I said, Derby was another one. Swansea, I think, we'd not won there. Coventry, another.
Yeah, and we've gone to places where we don't win. Like, legitimately, like those ones that you were talking about there, like, we just don't win at those type of places. Or historically, it doesn't seem to be. So, yeah, as you say, like, the resetting of that counter and how well we've played in a lot of those games as well. Like, away, obviously it's away from home, but yeah, like how well we've played in some of those. Like yesterday, we weren't at our best by any stretch of the imagination. You'd probably say the same for Derby as well. Like, we weren't the best there. Coventry was a bit of a smash and grab as well. But yeah, it's really, really positive away from home. I just wish everyone who goes to Hillsborough could come and see it.
I know, yeah, exactly. Matt, before we get onto the footballing matters, obviously you was down at Home Park. Before we get on to talking about kind of the away day and stuff, he was at Plymouth yesterday. He was on the golf course today. For all the other married men out there, have you got any tips on how you can do that? By the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know what's got into my wife this weekend. I've got no idea. Either she's having an affair or something. I've no idea. But yeah, all of a sudden it was, are you going to Plymouth? Yeah. All right. Okay. You're going to go play golf on Sunday? Yeah. All right. Okay. So clearly she's keeping some sort of a tally in her head. I've got some sort of a holiday being booked, planned somewhere, which I'm going to have to fund. But
you were there hiding behind the settee, as you said, like waiting for the
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not.
I have no idea what it is that's coming, but yeah, I know it's going to be expensive. Let's put it that way, James.
Well, yeah, there you go, and that's what you need to do. Just have a big wallet. That's it. That's what you've got to do.
I mean, do you know what? This could all be saved, because I was thinking where you were saying whatever it is going to be expensive, and then I thought, well, actually, I've renewed my season ticket, so, and I know she's not going to be wanting that, so it'll be cheaper than that. So
to be fair, didn't she reverse into your car not so long back? So you have got a few tickets left on that one, haven't you?
Yeah, but that was my fault, James. That was my fault, not hers. That was my fault. Things come at you from behind when you reverse, but no, that was my fault.
Anyway, I mean, this weekend it was obviously you was at Plymouth, but it was a mad dash. It's my sister's wedding in a few months' time, so it was the suit fitting. It was funny actually, because they initially put in for the suit fitting to be next Saturday. This was like, I don't know, a couple of months ago. Straight away, literally, the messages come in the group chat. Straight away, me and my dad, almost at the same time, can't do that. Steel City Derby, like the one day I literally can't do. So I got the whole. So what you're telling me is football is more important than my wedding, and I'm like, wait a minute, football is more important than a suit fitting. It's not the actual wedding that we're talking about here. So let's get that right.
James, you've also done well to dodge that question as well, because the answer, of course, is yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Had it been a day where the Steel City, had it been the wedding, I would have been like, you need to move that day. Like, I don't care. Either that or I'm not coming. Like, it's simple as.
I'll be there for the evening.
Yeah, I'll be there for the reception, as long as we win. But yeah, so anyway, I mean, as it happens, I could have gone next Saturday. That would have actually been better than yesterday, to be honest. So that was a mad dash. always disappointing when you if anyone else has been for a suit fitting. I think the tape measures are wrong actually. They must add a couple of inches on. Do you know what I mean? They said the camera adds a few inches, but I think certainly them tape measures do, because that number he gave me, I've got no jeans that are that size, and they seem to fit me all right. So
I think the moral of this story is stop eating cameras and stop eating tape measures, James. That's the moral of that story.
Stop eating something anyway. But yeah, so that was a first. Anyone want to be first? Yep, I'll be first. Mad dash back to watch the match, and glad I did as well, because what a 3-0 win it was. Although I will comment to it, the performance not the best, but anyway, starting lineup we'll start there. Actually, there's a couple of comments. Actually, let's get into some of them. One from Ev or Eve. Evening, fellas. I bet it's not often you get a Blade becoming a regular. You might not be a regular after next week, depending on what the score is. So maybe you are. Maybe, to be fair, we might get quite a lot of them on Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Who knows? Saying, wondering if the Danny Rowe rumours have any truth behind them, and if he does go, what will be next? We'll be talking about that on Extra Time. I mean, I don't expect you to become a Patreon member if you are a United fan, but you never know. Everyone else can. Patreon.com.
I was just going to say, James, isn't there a 7-day free trial on at the minute? So that is a perfect excuse.
There is, and do you know what? I would piss myself if you forgot and didn't cancel it after 7 minutes.
That would be annoying. Yeah, that
7 minutes,
annoying.
7 days. I said it's long. It's longer than a 7-minute trial anyway. Sai says, you heard any more from Simon on the takeover? Answer to that is no. But I do. You will be talking to him, won't you? In a few weeks' time.
Obviously this week's a very busy week for obviously all Sheffield clubs related. I would imagine even Hallam and Sheffield FC, even though it's not in Sheffield anymore, get involved in it. And then I spoke to Simon, and we've got something kind of penciled in for a week or so from now. So it was just to get a bit of a catch up and have a bit of an update, really. So yeah, again, very grateful for him agreeing to come on, and hopefully we'll have a bit more news then.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Owen says, cooking on gas, and we're back. Yeah, don't let me get that meme out, we're so back, we're back, Yeah, he's literally this season, because come this time next week, we could be full circle once again.
It's so over. Oh, it's so over this time next week. It's so over.
Definitely. Right, let's talk about the lineup then. It was Beadle in goal, Iofa, Hekwe, Lowe and Hatsuse, Charles, Bannon, Gassama, Windass, Ingleson and Paterson. So it was just one change. Iofa came in for Valentin. Just on that, I thought initially a little bit hard done to Valentin, because I thought he put a good shift in last time out. He did okay. Didn't really disgrace himself. I know obviously his output isn't great, and he doesn't get as many assists as he perhaps wants, or indeed we want either. But the other thing, it was a shock to see Iofa thrust straight back in, Matt. He normally they get come off the bench a few times and then they start after they've had an injury. But he felt it was good enough to go straight in.
Do you know what, James? Typically, with fully fit defensive stable, I would agree with you. But with the importance of the game this time in 7 days, he had to play yesterday, was my opinion. He had to come on and get some minutes and some game time, because I would imagine we are going to need a raft of players available, as many as we can possibly. I was surprised, honestly, not to see Akin Famewo blooming wheeled out somewhere just to try and give him 10 minutes. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I was pleasantly surprised, because actually I think Dominic Iofa at right back we've seen that script enough before. I suppose if you are going to play him there, Plymouth, no offence to any Plymouth fans, because there will be a lot of, I would imagine, Plymouth bashing this evening in terms of the quality. It is the side to do it against, really. Yeah. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was unexpected in terms of a change. If we'd have known that Dominic Iofa was going to be potentially fit and available for it, I think a lot of people would have just gone, well, he's got to go straight back in. Like, he has to go straight back in. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Paul Valentin had done anything to warrant him being dropped. I think he's just in a position where there's a player who we desperately need to get back into playing regular football for us because of the lack of defensive options. And I thought that was a you don't want to break up that partnership of. I can't believe I'm saying that. You don't want to break up that partnership of Michael Eheka and Max Lowe at centre half, because Max Lowe has been again. I mentioned it a couple of times. He was yesterday. Max Lowe, were it not for Shay Charles, for me is our player of the season. He's been outstanding, genuinely that good, and I think Michael Eheka. I know a lot of people will come on to him obviously a bit later. A lot of people were very full of praise for him yesterday. Because Michael Eheka is a League One centre-half and Plymouth were a League One side yesterday. He looked great. Looked really, really composed yesterday.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? You know, I wonder what, if you had to put down at the start of the season, like a list of all your centre-back pairings that you might see, I wonder where Michael Eheka and Max Lowe would be on that list. Low. Yeah.
Low.
Do you know what? I genuinely don't think you'd get to the end and you'd be like, what defenders have we got and what you'd be asking ChatGPT to put, like, can you just put these combinations together? Do you know what I mean? Like, to give me the rest of the likelihoods of or whatever. Like, because I don't think you'd even get to Michael Eheka. Well, you'd get to Michael Eheka, of course, but you'd never be putting your left back with a centre back that's probably not even going to play either. Like, you know,
no.
Or if you said to me, you know, at the start of the season that you're going to get to this point going into the derby, you're going to get to the point where your centre back pairing is going to be these two, I'd be thinking, what the fucking hell's happened? Like,
yeah, 100%. I tell you, he's an even stranger one, James. If somebody were to say at the end of the season, we're not going to sign Akin for May, we're not going to re-sign Akin for May, or go out and sign a left-sided centre half because we think that Max Lowe is going to take that position, and everyone went, yeah, all right, actually, yeah, that's okay. That would have been an even more puzzling one.
Yeah, I agree. The other one, Max Lowe and Paterson both starting.
Yeah,
you know, great to see them both back in. Obviously, they came off in the last game against Sunderland. Looked like Max Lowe was heavily strapped up on his neck or his back or whatever it was. Pato, I mean, he would run through brick walls, wouldn't he, to be fair to play. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's got pins in his legs and I don't know, whatever else. He'd come on in crutches if he needs to be honest. But yeah, great to see them both in. And the fact that it was only one change, we normally see 2, 3, 4 changes. Yeah. But I think playing a fairly settled side is, as much as Danny wants to make changes and as much as I'm kind of on board with it, there's that old-fashioned style of me that's like, look, if I know we lost last game, but we played good football. The more you can play together and the more you can play a settled side, for me personally, I always feel that's the better way, the best way to go.
I agree with you. I think it's the first time in what feels like 3 months where we've had a settled side, almost going back to back in terms of games. Like, we used to talk about Darren Moore and how many changes he used to make, and think back to those days where it was a manager making 2 or 3 changes a game. Like we now like if it's somebody's not made 2 or 3 changes a game, I feel a bit uneasy now with kind of how it is and the way the injuries have kind of stacked up for us this year. But
you're almost saying, like, how shit are the other players if you can't make a change? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
100%. But yeah, it was a big boost to see Dominic Iorfa back. Max Lowe in particular again. It looked. Do you know what, James? I know we mentioned it obviously last week on the pod as well. With the amount of strapping he appeared to have on kind of like that shoulder and back, I couldn't work out whether it was sort of like a jarring of a back or whether he was trying to put in an insurance claim for whiplash, because it was like right up to the top of like just underneath his ears. And Callum Paterson, honestly, wouldn't surprise me if he's playing through injections. Because that did not look good when he come off. There was nobody around him. He was smacking the floor in frustration. So it genuinely would not surprise me. But as you say, there's a lot of things that you can throw at Callum Paterson. There's a lot of rightful criticism that you can probably throw at him. One of them about the fact that he is not fit and available 99% of the time is not something that you can say. It has to be something serious, like last season at Coventry, for him to not be able to lace up his boots.
Yeah, Matt said as well, I've been a massive critic of Paterson, but I have to admit he's been good the last few games he's played. Maybe deserves another contract. Yeah, we'll come on to that. We did put a poll out as well asking if you would give Pato a contract at the end of the season. I do believe he is out of contract in the summer, but who knows, because we never find anything out when it comes to any contract talks or any stuff like that. Matt, in terms of the game, then just overall, for me, I said it in the intro, like, it was just a huge confidence boost in that we scored 3 goals. All right, 1 were helped by them. Keeping a clean sheet as well, which was massive. We haven't kept many so far this season, but mainly just off the back of 3 straight defeats. I know we've got that game coming up next weekend. I didn't want to be going into Norwich on Tuesday off the back of 4 straight defeats, or 4 games without a win. Or, do you know what I mean? I didn't want people to be, or us to be talking about those sorts of runs. It resets the clock. It is a boost of confidence. And obviously, as well, everyone that's travelled down there, a well-deserved 3 points to come away with.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to win those type of games. And again, genuinely, I do feel very sorry for what's happened to Plymouth this season, because obviously we went up with them. They were a really combative side on the year that we came up, and it has been really, I suppose, sort of sad to see what's happened to them, because it could quite easily have been us that last year. When I say those type of sides, sorry, any Plymouth fans who do listen to this, relegation fodder. And that sounds harsh, but much like we have been saying after when we've played Sunderland or Leeds, when a side has beat you 7-0 on aggregate, you can have no complaints.
You said that, like, but they've had, up until that point yesterday, 17 defeats. They've only won 6 games all season. Yeah. Like, we can say, like, oh, no disrespect and what have you. Like, literally, they're at the bottom of the league. Like, you can't be going there. I know it's away from home. I know it's a long drive and everything else, rah. But really, you've got to be going against them teams. The teams that everyone else is beating. You've got to be going there and looking to beat them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no 2 ways about it.
Yeah, if you are wanting a top half finish, yeah, 100%. I agree with you, James. You have to be going and beating them. And I think, rightly, you've already pointed it out, that this week, Norwich, Plymouth, Sheffield United, obviously on the Sunday, there's an opportunity for points there, because Norwich aren't the side that they were last year. Norwich hit and miss as well. Had we gone there yesterday, and as the game panned out, and obviously as we're going to talk about, it seems inconceivable now to think that we'd have lost the game because of the way that both teams played. But had we actually gone there and lost, you're thinking, shit, that is 4 defeats on the spin going into 2 difficult games here. But yeah, I suppose we had to out-battle and outwork that side yesterday, which is not something that is often sort of really levelled at Danny. I mean, at this Sheffield Wednesday side, definitely at home. Like, away from home, I think there's been a lot more battling kind of performances and kind of sticking to kind of like task and all the rest of it, and earning that right to play. Like, I'm thinking back to like QPR and games like that, where we've gone into games and really had to keep it very tight during the first half and force the issue in the second. We did. We did that yesterday. The goals just came earlier, and we took our chances. And again, let's not kid ourselves. From my perspective, I've seen Plymouth twice this year in the flesh, and a couple of times on Sky. This is the worst side that I've seen in the league this season. So to go there and do the job on them was exactly what you would want to see.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin just said, home park is never easy. Jobs still had to be done. Yeah, I do agree on that. They've I think they'd only lost at home 4 times despite being in the relegation zone. I think it was Burnley, QPR, Stoke, and I can't remember who the other one was. And you obviously can add us to that list now. So yeah, not many teams have won there, but still, having said that, again, going into the game, you're right, Matt. You have to be beating sides that are down there. In terms of the performance, Matt, I feel like we've played a lot better in other games and come away with absolutely nothing. I'm not saying the performance was poor or anything like that, but I just find football a crazy, crazy game. That's how it goes sometimes. I thought the performance, like in the first half against Burnley, first half against Sunderland, was much better in terms of tempo and passing and some of the movement that we had. I think the first 5 or 6 minutes, Jesus Christ, I turned it on and I thought, what, like, everyone that had travelled down must be thinking, fuck it, what's happened here? Yeah. They came out like a steam train. And obviously, I know Iorfa were playing at right back. I think he thought he were playing at right centre half because he wasn't anywhere near right back at all. And they got down that side. They had 3-4 chances in the first 5 minutes, it was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a bit of a difference in terms of we've sat on here for months on end, James, not just weeks, months on end, and said we're great in between both boxes. We're brilliant in between both boxes. And I thought after the first 5 minutes, it's going to be similar sort of story today. We're going to be great in between both boxes. It's just, can we take a chance and can we keep them out? Actually, as it turns out, the middle of the park was the worst part of the pitch for us.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we were clinical up front with the chances that we had, and we were defensively sound, because even in those moments, aside from Dominic Iorfa going walkabout for the first 5 minutes and then realising, oh shit, I need to actually shout at Djeidi Gassama to come back, otherwise he's not going to do it. We were great. It's such a stupid game, football, isn't it? Because, as you say, we've played so much better than that in recent weeks. Like, you can go back as far back as Leeds. For 87 minutes against Leeds, we were exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. And lost the game 3-0. Yesterday, we were great in the final third in spells. Like, some of the interchange of movement from that from the front line was really, really slick yesterday. But we weren't great in the centre of the park. Like, we weren't brilliant. But actually, when you go then to the defensive line, aside from those first 5 minutes, we never looked threatened.
Yeah, and that's it. They clearly, sorted themselves out, and actually, again, like you said, after that, they didn't really have any sorts of answers at all, really. Yeah. And I thought the goals came at the perfect times. I felt, they were on top in that first opening exchanges. Then we go 1-0 up. Then we get a goal just before half time, just to kind of stick the knife in a little bit, and then of course 60 odd minutes we twist the knife and make it 3-0 and actually finish a team off, which we've very rarely done, other than Plymouth again at home. Really, I mean, most games have been fairly close. You hit the nail on the head. You said that word clinical, Matt, and that is, we haven't said that ever really this season. Like, that is the one thing that you could say that we're not as a football club. Scored lots of goals, but could have scored a shed load more, to be honest. But you know what, we didn't have many chances, but when we did have chances, I mean, the chances that we missed luckily came after we were 3-0 up.
Yeah, and that's the big thing there, because I was just about to say, James, while you were talking there, and I was saying clinical, it should have been 5. Let's not kid ourselves. Michael Smith will have gone and had a very, very restless evening yesterday because of the 2 chances that he missed. He's taken harder chances than that this season. But yeah, we were, and at 3-0 up, you can miss those chances and everybody goes, well, it's fine. Whereas in weeks gone by, those chances have come and gone and the game's still 0-0. And it all of a sudden just ramps up that pressure, and it ramps up the pressure on the back line. As you say, it just goes to show what happens when forwards take their opportunities early doors, because it just relieves the pressure on everybody else.
Quick one, I didn't mention this when we talked about the lineup. Ike Ugbo travelled, not in the squad. Do you think Danny's given up on him? I mean, I know they are staying down, aren't they? Because they're staying down there because they're going to Norwich. So they're not coming back to then head all the way over to Norwich. So I don't know where they're staying exactly, but they're obviously, great move for, I feel like that. So obviously he's gone down there because, it feels like he might be needed. Yeah. We might see him on Tuesday. But yeah, do you think he has given up a little bit?
I don't know. I think there were a couple of players who travelled down. So Ben Hamer travelled down. So I spent pre-game, with Chris. So Chris, if you are listening on your digger on work on Monday, enjoy yourself. But yeah, I spoke to Chris and met up with Chris beforehand. When you were talking about, just slightly a tangent here, James, when you were talking about
tangents on this podcast, Matt.
Yeah, I know. When you were talking about wives being understanding. So it was Chris's wife's birthday on Friday. And right at the start of the season, he went, "Do you fancy a weekend away for your birthday?"
Quality.
And she went, yeah, where are you thinking? We can take, don't worry, we can take the kids. Apologies if any of the kids' schools are listening. Take the kids out of school. We'll drive down on the Friday. We'll have a long weekend there. Yeah, sounds great. Where do you want to go? Do you fancy Plymouth?
Devon.
No, he didn't even start with that. He went Plymouth, not even Devon. He went, "Do you fancy Plymouth in March?"
The South Coast.
Yeah, like, I think poor Mrs. Gilbert must have been thinking like south of France, Spain, Portugal for a long weekend. No, do you fancy Plymouth? Yeah. How come? Oh, Wednesday you're playing.
Do you know what you should have said? Do you know how far it is? Yeah, it's 5.5 hours away. She's thinking, right, where can I fly to in 5.5 hours?
Well, that got me, and then it got me as well because he was also stopping in the same hotel as the team.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
He was saying that there was a few players who have travelled. Ben Hamer being one, Ike Ugbo another, Charlie McNeil who.
Who was he? Who was he, by the way?
He was not very happy about being asked for a photo, and then said, "Oh, it's good that you've made the squad." And he went, "I'm not in the squad." It was not. Chris was like, "Oh shit, I put my foot in it there." So yeah, he wasn't best pleased. But I would imagine, James, with that stopover. Also, aside, we've learned this week as well, Danny's not booking coaches and hotels anymore. What a fucking miracle! Honestly, we've really moved into the 21st century here. But yeah, I would imagine with that there will be a host of changes for Tuesday, and there'll be players who have played the game this weekend who will just be. You almost kind of want to say it'll get to Monday when he picks his side and he'll go, just go home. Just go home. Like, it's fine. Yeah. Like, we don't need you for this. Just go home and get some rest for, like, would it really surprise you if Max Lowe, for argument's sake, is, well, like if we had another defensive option, just go and rest up for Sunday, or
Otto Bayo started at centre back.
Yeah, or something like that. So yeah, I think again, really, really smart move by the club. I'm looking forward to this all going to shit in a couple of months.
Yeah, definitely. One player I want to talk about, Djeidi.
What a man.
Yeah, we desperately need to tie him down to a new and lengthy contract, I feel, because it was immense once again. He's just getting better and better and better. We say it every week, stuck record. It got kicked from pillar to post yesterday. I know we'll get onto the yellow cards, but how they only had 2 yellow cards is beyond me, because they were touch tight to say the least. I'm surprised they didn't come off with parts of his shirt as well, to be honest. But he was dancing around him. Like I said, I think he's the most foul player on the pitch, which is he kind of is pretty much every single week, to be fair. But took his goal really well. Obviously, his first goal, not his second goal, because even though commentators thought he got a touch on the first one, he was absolutely nowhere near it. I was watching it, I'm like, that's an own goal, that, and they're going off like, Gassama gets there first, and I'm like thinking, pretty sure he hadn't. But
pretty sure he hadn't. Yeah.
I mean, I bet even you could see that from where you were.
You could see it was an own goal from a million miles. Yeah, from the other end of the stadium, you could see it was an own goal. I'm assuming just to give. Was it Rob who was on commentary yesterday?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was Alex Miller who was on co-coms as well, because Wednesday released the highlights just be recording this. I was like, that's really nice to hear him on co-coms. But yeah, it was. I'm assuming it was the angle of where the press box is at Home Park. I might be doing them too much of a favour here, but yeah, it was very obvious.
I'm hoping there was a pillar in the way. That's the only crumb of comfort I might give them. Alex said something. What did he say? Rest in defence or something. Phrase I'd never heard of before in football.
No. Out of context, I haven't got a fucking clue, James. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm sure it's something like rest in defence, and I thought that's what we're doing every week.
Yeah. We've got a lot of them resting defenders.
Rest defence is a tactic that involves positioning players to prevent counter-attacks after losing the ball. Isn't that just called defending?
Or just leaving a man back. Yeah, but new names. But yeah, going back to Djeidi. I think, James, and I know this is a big statement, he is one of, if not the most exciting winger in the division at this point in time. Are there better wingers out there? Yes, maybe, but I think he is the most in form and exciting winger in the division, or one of them certainly. Now, this is where it becomes tricky, because if you aren't going to sort a deal out like now, like the next 8 weeks before the season ends, because there will be bids in for him in the summer. Yeah. If you can't sort a contract out in the next 8-9 weeks, you sell him and you take the cash.
I agree.
You sign him to build a squad around him to get the best out of him for 18 to 24 more months, and then you sell him. That's the only reason you tie him down to a longer term deal. If you don't, you have to sell him this window, this coming summer, because I can give you one strong guess at a club who will be in for him, James. A club who is currently sat on 9 points in the Premiership. Who will be desperate for him, flush with cash. I would imagine they will be first at the door come.
They might have a manager that'll know him pretty well as well.
And has got the best out of him, yeah, and elevated him to a status that I'm sure many thought that he wasn't capable of in the first couple of glimpses that we got of him. So yeah, you've got to tie him down in the next 8 weeks. You don't get him tied down in the next 8 weeks, which is going to be a tall order with with all of the things circling about the manager. If you're not going to tie him down, you're not going to throw the book at him. You say, right, we need 8 rising to 12 million for him, and you can go.
And do you know what as well? I had a comment saying, we need to move players on that are like that have got resale value, and I agree with that. But the longer the contract is that they've got, the more money it's going to take to prize them away.
Agreed.
If the contract runs out, not this summer, next summer, there might be some clubs that are like, actually, I'll just wait. I'll not pay 100%. That high ticket price that you've slapped on him. I'm just going to wait, and then. Obviously, when agents will be just saying, just ride your contract out and you'll leave for free, and you can get a big signing on bonus and stuff like that.
100%, James. That is quite literally how, if you were an agent, you should do your job. And I would like to state here, Djeidi Gassama should be going absolutely nowhere from a Sheffield Wednesday perspective. He is wonderful. He is our most exciting attacking player currently that we have at the football club, aside from Bannon, but obviously Bannon's Bannon. But he is week in, week out a constant threat. And he's a headache for every defence he's come up against, especially in this second half of the season. But if you aren't going to be able to secure him, and it is going to cost you a lot of money to secure him, it is going to cost you, I don't know, big hitters money, let's say. If you're not going to do that, you've got to start cashing in on these players rather than saying, all right, we'll let you run your contract down. And then in 6 months, remember, he can start touting himself around and signing pre-contract agreements with people.
Yeah, I'm just looking now at his numbers this season. Averages 1.7 dribbles a game, which is normally me dribbling when I'm watching him play at Hillsborough. But just to put that into context, people saying 1.7, that's not a lot. Borja Sainz leads that metric with 2.3.
Yeah.
And he's ranked 8th, Djeidi Gassama. Joint 7th, actually, if you want to...
And he's not played all season. I've just highlighted this comment from Gary because it is the total opposite to what both me and you think, James, in terms of can't see what you think of the gas man, can't see why you think the gas man is worth money. He only tones up at most once per month. My answer to that, Gary, would be I think it depends what you're expecting from him. If you're expecting him to, beat players every single week and slap it inside the top corner every single week, he's not that because he's a kid. Like, he's just not going to do that, and that's
it's not that because he plays for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. He's not going to do that. I'm putting it in the same parlance as Romain Esse, who's just gone to what's his name, from Millwall to Palace for a huge fee. His output is more than Romain Esse, if I'm not mistaken, James.
I'm just looking, Romain Esse, he had 4 goals and 1 assist in 24 starts. Gassama's had 26 starts, 7 off the bench. So he's only played 200 minutes more. But he's got 5 goals. So they're very similar in terms of actual output. Yeah, Esse only 1 assist. Just on that, he's ranked 2nd in that metric of dribbles, whereas Gassama's 8th. But that's out of the whole of the championship, by the way.
Yeah. I just think if you're talking that much money, that is what a championship winger for 21-year-old championship winger goes for now. For everybody else, aside from Sheffield Wednesday, we've spoke about it in the past couple of weeks a number of times. It's just time to stop undervaluing our players. Like, it's if somebody wants to come and take him, the starting price should be, in my opinion, at present, 8 million quid, and we can go from there. Because if it rises with it up to 12, then that's absolutely fine. But across the city, as you'll hear all week from every red and white persuasion about Jefferson Raksaki and how much he's worth and all the rest of it, I'd argue Djeidi Gassama is as not, if not more exciting, and he's much more important to us than Raksaki is for that.
But it's that word potential though as well. And obviously, whilst ever a player's still on the up, You've got to sell them whilst they are still on the up. I mean, if you're really clever, you can sell them when they're on the on that peak, and they drop off, and you think, oh Christ, that was a good job he sold him because he's done absolutely nothing wherever he's gone to. But even if you sell them and they go on to do better things, it is what it is. Like you've got to try and get the most out of your players. You don't want to keep playing them and then they start going to a run of bad form and then they get dropped and then you're like thinking, stuck with him now, or they leave on a free and go somewhere else. You have got to. It's player trading. I mean, the thing is, we never do it. So it's like an alien thing to us. You see other clubs doing it, but because you're not in it and you're not seeing it happen to your club and your players, you can't. It kind of goes by the wayside. But we do need to be better at it. The only problem is we don't have a raft of good top quality players that are of a saleable value. So when we're doing it, it's literally like our best players. Like, I mean, like the few best players that we've got that are just going to go, and then that's
the model that we've got, isn't it, James? And that is just the model that's the legacy of what we're left with. But again, if you're looking at potential and pedigree, he's come from the PSG academy. He's played for us a number of games. He's now a first team starter and a first team regular, if not the first name on the team sheet. He's one of the most important players for a mid-table championship club. He's exactly what SA was when he left Millwall. Again, you're honestly telling me that, say, Brighton, who are losing Matoma, I know very different type of player. I know Matoma's a much, much better player, but if you're buying potential again, there is an opportunity.
Gary thinks we'll not even get $1 million for him, and I do agree with Matt. I think Gary is a blade. Gary, apologies if you are a Wednesdayite, but if you don't think that Gassama is worth more than $1 million, then I think you're stuck in 1992, to be honest. Kevin said, are you mixing up Gassama and Masaba? Quite possibly with that one. Let's move off from the Gassama topic. And
he's class. Move on.
Yeah. Matt, 5th best away form, 2nd worst at home. Simple question, why?
Yeah, good question. I mean, this is a whole pod in itself, isn't it, James? Like this particular topic, but I think let's start with the fan base. Hillsborough has been a morgue this season.
Yeah.
At home, from any atmosphere. You can rattle off any of the big games that we've played there this season. It has been appalling, aside from Plymouth opening day, and that's because it was August, sunshine, football was back, and we were winning 4-0. Every other game, Leeds, appalling. Big games that have drawn big crowds, I'm thinking like your Boxing Day ones and stuff like that, appalling. Atmosphere, really, really flat. Away from home, having been to, again, the majority of the games this year, the backing that the players get, no matter what the scoreline, is outstanding. And I do genuinely think away from home that feeds down onto the pitch. We've seen what it does at Hillsborough when it is backed. We've seen how useful it is. We've seen that it genuinely does make a difference. We've heard current players talk about it. We've heard ex-players talk about it, and they're not trying to blow smoke. They are being truthful. I think the style of football that we are most capable of playing also lends itself better to playing away from home. We are better defensively by sitting in and breaking on teams. My honest answer is when we've done that at Hillsborough, people start getting nervous and it starts filtering down onto the pitch and there's a lot of moans and groans and all the rest of it. And people just... Nicest
it seems to be more expected, doesn't it? No, for Hillsborough, if we just sat in and let the other team have 60 or 70% possession, unless they are, a Leeds or a Burnley where you think, well, they're in the top 2 or 3 in the league. If it's just a Stoke, for example, you're like, oh, we shouldn't be giving him that much of the ball. There's that kind of an expectation at home to dictate play. And I think you're bang right. Like the stats say when we don't have the ball. I mean, look, not having the ball doesn't mean like not creating any chances, because we do actually create chances on the break and on the counter. We seem to be better when we're just more effective with the ball and actually trying to drive the ball forward rather than trying to break down a team that just puts 10 men behind the ball.
Because it creates spaces, because players are out of position, because they're working back. I mean, how many times at home this year, I mean, people will be able to rattle this off in the chat or in the comments or on Discord or whatever. How many times, especially early on in the season, were we caught out on the break? Like, all the bloody time it seemed to be. And even yesterday at Plymouth, second goal aside, because the second goal is a really well... Hang on, that's just while we're here, that second goal, the set-piece coach has earned his money. But the move for the one that Shay Charles just puts past the post.
Yes.
that move comes because there's so many players who are all kind of like moving and interchanging and all the rest of it, because we've won the ball back high up the pitch because we didn't have it originally. We've won the ball back. We've played some slick interchange and got in because Plymouth are all over the shop. Sides don't do that at Hillsborough. The way to beat Sheffield Wednesday at home is sit in and go on and break us down, because we're not good enough. And when we do get the chances to do so, we haven't scored.
Yeah, we fluff us lines, don't we?
Yeah. I think that. And then, as you said, Nick, it was Nick in the Discord, wasn't it, who mentioned about better pitches away from Hillsborough. The pitch at Hillsborough has been a massive problem this year. Huge, absolutely huge problem. I think that was seen by the new head groundsman coming in from Manchester City, because it is appalling. It is genuinely, the playing surface at Hillsborough is, you don't want to say it's not fit for like League Two or anything like that, because I genuinely feel that would be doing a disservice to some of the pitches in League Two.
It's funny though, because I saw some clips from I think there's a Twitter account, 90s football, I think they call it, and I saw some clips of football from in the Premier League in the 90s. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like that must have been December, that, because there's barely any grass on that pitch. There might be grass near the corner flags, and that's about it. Because near the centre, near the centre circle, near the in the goal mouth, it's like being in Graves Park.
I think the other thing is, with that particular pitch at Hillsborough, when you were talking about like those videos from the 90s and kind of park clips, look at the pitch and the playing surface yesterday at Plymouth. It was a carpet, absolute carpet yesterday. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of ball in the air yesterday.
That's why I said they don't play football on the deck there. So
that's why all the grass is growing. But it was a fantastic playing surface yesterday, and it allows for that quick interchange. As doesn't in any, and I know people have done this to death about, well, it's the stand and it doesn't allow the sunlight and this and that. It's a professional football club. There are clubs around the world that don't have direct sunlight ever on their pitch, and somehow they manage to figure it out. Yeah,
you see like the Bernabeu or Allianz Arena or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving the South Stand any disservice, but it's not this. Do you know what I mean? It might be big, it ain't that big. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not. It's I agree with Nick. I think I hadn't thought about that up until that point that Nick raised that comment. But yeah, I think that does have something to do with it in terms of the way we play. When it was Megson, Gerrit forward and all the rest of it, like I think it was less of an issue. But it is a huge issue if you actually want to play football on that pitch and get the ball down. Like it's just not fit for purpose, is it?
Yeah. We'll come on to Pato in a second, but I just want to, since we were talking about kind of playing styles and stuff, Danny last season, when we went on that run at the back end, Will Volt came into the side and we kind of, he relaxed some of his principles, by that, but, they were less passing out from the back. We went a little bit more direct, let's say. I think that's pretty obvious. Sometimes this season, we just cited there some of the movement. We've played some fantastic football. It has looked very pleasing on the eye, but we've just, as we've mentioned a few times, just not really got the quality to finish the job off, and it's been missed chance after missed chance. I know yesterday was different, but we did move the ball a lot quicker yesterday. And I'm going to pin this one on Danny. I know we don't criticise him at all, if ever, but I feel like there's an element of, surely you must know at this point in the season, with 10, 11 games to go, like you don't need to play this much of the season to realise that it's kind of not working. And when we do, go a little bit more direct, and also play Smith and Pato, which, I know we were joking about, Gassama perhaps wearing a red and white striped shirt in the Southampton shirt next season. I don't think Smith and Pato will be on Danny's shopping list of players to kind of bring from his former club if he does end up at Southampton. Clearly they're not his players, not his style. But you look and you think, Pato, 5 goals now. Smith, 8. I know he missed 2 chances yesterday, but I'm like, and again, I know yesterday he didn't do this because obviously Ugbo didn't play, but he's been persisting with players that just are bang out of form and then not playing the players that seemingly change games just because they don't really fit in his system. And sometimes I think, change your system, because then players, you can't do anything about them. They're there. You've got to use them.
I think it's a really interesting point. I actually think over the course of this season, the way it's panned out and the style of football we now play, we actually don't need somebody up front to link play. Because if you go back to that first game, we're talking about Plymouth here, obviously, but if you think about that first game at home to Plymouth, how integral was Jamal Lowe in linking play that day, bringing others in and all the rest of it? We don't play like that anymore. What you effectively need is, to coin a phrase that all of my year nines use, you need a gunman up top, which is you need somebody who is just going to put the ball in the back of the net. You don't need somebody who's going to do all the rest. They're going to run around like till they're blue in the face and have got no air left in their lungs. And when a chance falls to them in the box, they don't take a touch. They don't think about it. They just hit it as hard as they just hit it at goal, and that's it. You don't need anything else. I think a lot of it also is probably dictated by the opposition because we are a reactionary and adaptive team. Because how many different formation changes, how many different system tweaks and all the rest of it have we seen? And I agree with you, we don't have the players across the board anymore because it's less so about that front line. When you mentioned Will Vaulks and you cited him, and that was a great example. Shay Charles is a much better player than Will Vaulks. But if there is two players flying into a tackle, as in, like, you know, I'm going to get hurt here, Shay Charles is our closest version to that. Whereas, you know, Will Vaulks would have gone through, snapped his own leg, snapped the other player's leg, and just taken everybody out just to make sure that he win the ball. We've also conceded so many goals this year because we have that soft underbelly. We're not a battle inside. We're not a scrap inside. So I don't know if I fully agree with you in terms of changing those principles and going to more sort of like an agricultural, quote unquote, type of style of football. And I definitely, if, you know, by some slim chance that the manager is still here next year, I certainly don't think he'll be going that way. I think he'll be going even further the opposite way. But if a new manager comes in and he's got a lot of this squad to still work with, I see it as the best way to go because you're not going to be able to play this brand of football and get the same results that we have this season.
Yeah, I just feel like he's gone with the quality of player over form, if you know what I mean. Like, and he's stuck by that, and I get it. And maybe I'm being a bit controversial here, but I kind of almost, with everything that's kind of come out with the whole Southampton stuff, it's almost like he's trying to protect his brand of football over the amount of points that the team and club could potentially get by playing something a little bit slightly different. And I know he's not gone kind of all Russell Martin on us.
No, or just company,
Do you know what I mean? And proper just gone, no, I am going to pass out from the back at every opportunity because we have gone a little bit longer and stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's one for everyone to get involved in. Yeah, if you get involved in the comments, get involved on Twitter at WTID Pod and let us know what you think.
Really, really interesting point, James. Anyway, Sheffield Wednesday would love to welcome Russell Martin as the new club's manager.
Yeah, one of those players that I've just touched on, Callum Paterson. Do we need to show him a little bit more respect because he gets a lot of bashing on socials. He gets a lot of bashing from opposition fans as well.
And
when
me.
you see him,
yeah,
and you as well. And I hold my hands up. He's not my. I am, you know, like Matt said, I am one of his biggest critics as well. But you know, 5 league goals for the season, 7 in all competitions. Yeah, he's played 812 minutes of football. He's only 432 in the league. I think that works out something like a goal every 82 minutes in the league, which he's got to be up there, like in terms of best ratios. You know, does he only suit certain types of game, or again, are we doing him a bit of disservice and being a bit harsh there?
I will hold my hands up, James, because I think whilst you have been critical of him, I will hold my hands up and I've said at times that he's not good enough. And that was coming from, you know, he's playing out at right wing, he's playing at right back. Now we're asking him to go up top, and this is all in the space of about 60 minutes. And for me, I don't think he's of the quality. The last 2 games, if you ask him to do exactly what we have asked him to do in the last 2 games, I don't think there's a better player at the club to do it. Just tear arse around, make a nuisance of yourself, smack into every centre half that's going, barrel people out the way. He's wonderful at that, like genuinely wonderful at that. And actually, the other thing that I thought he was brilliant about his performance yesterday, he got out of the way. and let others dictate and play the ball. And actually, when the ball fell to him for his one opportunity, because he only did have one opportunity, he had acres of space to take the chance. Absolutely acres of space to take the chance. Again, I think if you're wanting a forward to link play, like we were talking about Jamal Lowe doing at the start of the year, I can totally understand why he was out the team. We've got better players who are capable of that. But there does come a point where you do have to hold your hands up as somebody who has bashed him from pillar to post and just say, in 812 minutes of football, all competitions, 7 goals. If you'd have given me that at the start of the season, I would have absolutely bit your hand off for it. It's all credit to him, and he's getting a lot of plaudits, and he deserves them at the minute.
The thing is, though, as well, like, we keep talking about, and that name's going to come up again, Ike Ugbo. In the league, he's got 5 more goals than him in the league.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And that's why you've got to look. He's doing his bit and he's getting his chance and he's taking it. I mean, does anyone know what his celebration was all about? He's kind of doing the handcuff celebration.
Not a clue.
Yeah, answer on a postcard if you know
Yes,
what that celebration was all about, because I am, like you said, none the wiser. Matt, would you give him a new contract at the end of the season? Before you answer that, I did put that out as a Twitter poll. 72% of the people that voted, just shy of 1,000 people, said they would give him a new contract.
No, I wouldn't. He's 30 years old. He's again, wonderful servant, really special. They all seem to be against Plymouth. Really special goal at home against Plymouth in the promotion season. Scored in the Miracle of Hillsborough. Has had some really smart performances, in particular the last 2. No, he's 30 years old. I would want him to move on from him and find a younger version of him, because they are out there. There's a lot to be said for what he does bring to a football club, and I think I certainly have undervalued him in terms of what he does bring to the squad. And we are now probably seeing the best form that he's had in 18 months in the last 2 games, playing for Sheffield Wednesday in that position and that role that he's got at the minute. I'll be honest, I'm somebody who's going to be calling him to be starting next Sunday, because I think he's ideal for that game.
He'll fly into a challenge and the crowd will get up.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. I would be calling for him to start in that game, because he is exactly what you need. But I don't think long term he's the answer. And that is, I understand that he's one of the certain chairman's favourite players. And I understand that he's brought a lot of value. It's a big contract that he's rumoured to be on. I'd be looking to move on from him now.
Yeah, I'm going to do what I tend not to do on here and sit on the fence a little bit, because I'm torn, really, because on one hand, I'm like what you're saying, his age, we should be looking at better players than Callum Paterson. Gary just said there, big fan of Pato, does what he says on the tin. I'd be tempted to give him another year. I do feel like you need a Pato in your side. He's not going to start every week, but just their utility man. Play any position. You bring him on when you need to kind of, change it up a little bit, or just inject a little bit of excitement and whatever else. But then I think it all depends on what the aspirations of the football club are.
Agreed.
If we're going to be looking at building again on this season, if we do finish mid-table and we want to go right, next season is a bit of an assault on the top 6. Absolutely, you need to get him out the door and bring someone else in. Agreed. If it's if the aspirations aren't like that, and it's going to there's not really much money to spend and stuff like that, then I think, well, kind of why risk bringing another player in when you know what you get, as Gegun says, or Gary. I read his username rather than his. I was trying to do 100 things at once there. Gary. As he says there, does exactly what he says on the tin, and so it all depends on what we're trying to do next season. For me,
I completely understand the argument for people saying he deserves another year. I just think it's the age profile again. Like we're talking, if he was 26 and we were having this conversation, like I would 100% agree. Like if he was 26 and we'd signed him and he did what he did and all the rest of it, I'd be thinking, yes, very, very useful. I just think at 30 years old, I don't think he's, it's through lack of fitness or anything, even though he seems to live off like 7 monsters a day. I don't think
talking about monsters. There were a few in the crowd, weren't there, yesterday?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, jeez. There were a few. Anybody who's
Be
not
careful.
seen Pato, anybody, yeah, I was about to start then, but anybody who's not seen that photo of Pato celebrating, just zoom in on the crowd behind. Tells you all you need to know about Plymouth. But what I would say, moving back onto Callum Paterson after the hideousness of that crowd photo, is I think you do just have to kind of look at him and just say, I think now is the time to move off him, because what are we offering him? Are you offering him a 2-year deal? Are you offering him a year deal? Because if you're offering him a year, he'll get 2 or 3 back up the road in Scotland. He'll get 2 or 3 from a newly promoted championship club. It's the reason why Will Volk's left.
Yeah.
They will get better offers elsewhere. If you are just offering... Now, again, we've spoke about this before with Josh Windass, James, as well, in terms of he's got a young family. He's clearly quite settled in the area. But every transfer window that has gone previous before, there has been rumoured interest from Scotland. Why he wouldn't just take this opportunity to go back up the road, be one of the most impactful players in the SPL, play in old firm games like week in, week out, and play regular football when he's close to the end of his career than the start. Why you wouldn't do that now, and the club say basically just mutually decide to shake hands and part ways? For me, as you say, with the aspirations, I think you just have to say, yeah, we'll move on.
Yeah, you mentioned his contracts as well. Again, take it with a pinch of salt what you see online, but it's rumoured to be around about £15,000-16,000 a week, which I read it and I'm like, that's got to be a load of bullshit. That's got to be wrong. Having spoke to a few people, I do feel like there's a little bit of truth in that, which again, take it all with a pinch of salt. If that is true, that's a lot of money for someone that plays 400 minutes of football. Do you know what I mean? In the league, that is a lot. I know he's got us 5 goals, but if he's staying, it needs to be on a considerably less contract than that. Yeah. Matt, let's talk about some of the goals then, and we might come back to some of the other stuff in a second. The first one, the own goal, 15 minutes on the clock. I mean, the ball starts at the back. You know, we've got the ball in kind of I think Michael Heck was. Got it. And we were talking earlier about moving the ball quickly. The ball does get shifted really quickly. Max Lowe, Hatsuse, he plays it down the line. Ingleson does really well to beat his man who he tries to get touch tight on him, but gets it all wrong. And then, Ingleson, who I thought had a great game as well, by the way. A little bit fortunate to still have the ball when the challenge comes in. And then he just plays the ball over, and cool, calm and collected just lifts it over. I mean, their defending was terrible. I mean, where they'd all just rushed. You know what? I watched Freddie play football. Freddie's only 4, and they just run around following the ball all the time. That's what I felt like happened with them. They all kind of moved towards the ball, and then I mean, if there was still that Nick Hancock's own goals and gaffs DVD, I think this one would have been on it. Because he gets it terribly wrong, doesn't he? Swing and a miss, and ends up in the back of the net. But yeah, like I said, perfect timing for the goal. 15 minutes. I think that was first or second chance that we'd had in the game. And we were 1-0 up. And how many times have we seen that script play out against us? On top, go goal down.
Yeah, I mean, again, for anybody who is at Hillsborough over the remainder of the season who's going, why are they just passing it around the back and blah, 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 that's exactly why. Because it moves an opposition around. If you move the ball quickly, which we did do yesterday more frequently, I would say, than we've done so in recent weeks in terms of going from side to side across the back and getting the ball forward into advanced positions. That's a huge advantage of having someone like Rio Hatsuse who does look to always go forward. We move it from a Hector, obviously, to him. He plays it down the line. I think Svante Ingleson forgot that he's Svante Ingleson, because when he lets the ball run past him, I think he then thought, oh, shit, I'm never going to catch that. Now, James, you will have obviously seen it on the TV and been much better positioned than I was in the stadium at the far end of the ground. It looked out. Like the ball looked out, and the way that Plymouth fans reacted also gave a suggestion that it looked out as well, which, judging by some of the decisions that referee's assistant gave on that side when the ball was clearly out further down, I would suggest he didn't have a Scooby-Doo as to whether it was out or not, but it did look it. He gets a little bit lucky with the ricochet. But again, the ball in, I think it was Chef Cam last week was talking about one of those little flippers. in the chat. He's mentioned like that little flipper. It's such an odd delivery.
It is,
like,
isn't
it's such a strange, like, five-a-side Sunday morning park football delivery.
Get it in mixer. That's what it's like. Just like pump it in. Like...
Yeah, and it's not like hammered. It's like that delicate little, oh, let me just lift that in there. But as you say, again, defensively, if you are a Plymouth fan, how wrong can you get it?
Imagine the meltdown if that was Michael Ehekwa.
Oh my God. Yeah, that'd just be me. Can you imagine it was Marvin Johnson? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, you can insert any player in there.
Yeah. But it was an appalling clearance. But Djeidi Gassama now does, and this is another reason why it adds to his value. He does things that he wouldn't have done 6 months ago, which is tear arse in at the back post and put the defender under pressure. Because 6 months ago, whoever was playing in those positions, whether it be Josh Windass, whether it be Antti Masaba, whether it be Olaf Kabatski, they just don't run in on the back post and pressurise the defender into making that error. Really, really good goal. A little bit fortunate in a couple of instances of it. But yeah, as you say, capitalised on... We said it the other week, didn't we, after we'd started like a house on fire against Burnley and then again against Sunderland. They then just grew into the game. And that's exactly when we scored. So Plymouth had their 5 minutes of fun. And then it was almost like we kind of went, right, let's actually get our foot on the ball here and start playing a little bit. Really, really, really good goal. Really well worked.
Annie said, do we know how many first team players are contracted at the end of the season? Short answer to that, Annie, is no. You can go on transfermarket.co.uk or .com, whatever it is, and you can have a look on there. There's a lot of question marks on because there's literally no information out in the public domain as to who is in or out of contract at Sheffield Wednesday. It's something that they keep under wraps. So, I don't know is the honest answer on that one. 2-0, Callum Paterson. Again, great time to score just before half time. Again, Hatsuse involved, this time fairly long throw-in, which I didn't realise he had in his locker. You know, Pato brings it down on his chest. A nice little layoff for Windass. And Pato just keeps moving. You know, he after he's laid it off, he keeps moving. Slipped it in to Ingleson, who then turns provider once again. Another assist for him. Just finds Pato, like you said earlier, in acres of space, really. Yeah. He does get closed down, but he just knows where the net is.
Yeah.
Opens his body up, puts it into that far corner. 2-0. Thank you very much. Football's really simple if you know how to play it.
Outstanding goal. Like all round, really, really slick interchange and play. The bloke who was 2 rows behind me was giving Rio Hatsuse both barrels for 90 minutes for no apparent reason. Like it was awful. And when this went in, there was his row of mates behind who were in front of him. He was 2 rows behind me. His row of mates in front of him went, "What a throw-in! What a throw-in from Rio!"
To be fair, it was decent.
It was a hell of a throw-in. I think the ball from Josh Windass is great. The run from Callum Paterson is what we've not seen strikers do. We've seen strikers try and make that late run and look for a cut back into the box, but he just carries it on, and the pass is inch perfectly weighted. And again, from a defensive perspective, if you're a Plymouth Argyle fan, you have got to be looking at your centre half going, why the fuck doesn't he know where they are? Like, because the player who is closing Svante Ingleson down should just take a look over his left shoulder as the ball's played there and go, oh, they've got nobody in the box here. I'm just going to cut off the square ball back and just force him down the line. He doesn't. He tries to cut off that passing option across the middle because he's completely lost Callum Paterson. Really, really smart finish. Took the goal really, really well.
Yeah, we mentioned, I talked about their 2 centre-backs on the preview show. And usually when I talk about any players, they have a good game, but their 2 centre-backs had an awful game, to be honest. Yeah. The one who had kind of the ponytail, but the skinhead kind of haircut, whatever that one is. Not too... Haircuts
the samurai haircut, let's call it.
Let's call it that. That guy, yeah. I know I mentioned about Dom Iofa forgot that he were right back in the first 5 minutes. I think that kid thought he were right back at some point. So he found himself right out there and just left big gaps that,
all over the shop. Over the shop defensively. But, James, how many times have we seen Sheffield Wednesday not exploit sides like that defensively this season?
Yeah.
and not be clinical. This was as clinical as this was like that run leading up to Christmas where everything we seemed to touch turned to gold yesterday.
I hope this is the start of this run now.
You would hope so. So we can make a late charge for 10th.
Late charge for that P word on that mention.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really, really well worked goal yesterday. The movement from a number of the forward players, and it's, to be fair, we've seen it on show since Burnley with Stuart Armstrong, who's sadly now he's missing for the rest of the season, isn't he? By the looks of it.
Yeah.
It looks really slick in those forward areas around the edge of the box. You know, there's a lot of interchange, a lot of kind of like advanced runners. So people running in behind a centre forward, like lots of balls out wide. Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, talking about kind of slick interchange of passing and good movement, the third goal in the second half from Djeidi Gassama. I mean, Windass picks it up in the middle of the park. Great movement from Gassama to kind of pull off that defender that was marking him again. He has no idea where he's gone to. He's like on the shoulder of the defenders, keeping himself on side. Like I say, creates that space, and then the ball that comes into him, you know, he has that strength, which that's something he's really worked on. I feel is his strength to be able to kind of bounce off defenders. Usually, that's kind of when he's marauding forward, you know, on a long run that we see it, but to kind of bounce off that challenge and then get the shot away, and again, similar to the Pato one, just kind of guides it into that far corner, and again, keeper absolutely no chance. 3-0, and then one of the coldest celebrations that you'll ever see. To be fair,
yeah, he's just a chill guy, you know. He's just a chill guy. Yeah, I think. Do you know the other one? Just going back before the ball arrives at Josh Windass, Dominic Iorfa at right back. Actually, this is going to sound so horrible. He actually realises he's got time and space. Yeah. Like the ball comes to him and he immediately goes to shape to play backwards and then goes, oh, hang on. Has a little look and you see him go, oh, no, I can go forward with this. And he plays that ball into, it's Gassama he's attempting to find, isn't it? And actually, do you know what? If that turn from Gassama had come off before it kind of like bundles and finds its way back to Josh Windass, if that turn comes off, I know Djeidi Gassama made an embarrassment of one of their centre-halves later on by pointing and laughing at him. That would have been a nail in the coffin because the turn was very, very sharp. But as you say, again, I think a couple of weeks ago, you might have seen Djeidi Gassama go down there looking for a penalty. When he gets the wrong side of the defender, right side from our perspective, but the wrong side of the defender, there is contact. Like, and immediately as he lets the ball run across his body, which is exactly what he should have done and did really, really well, I was thinking, get into the penalty box and go down. Just go down, because the angle was only getting tighter for him and it was only getting more difficult. It's a great finish. It's a wonderful, wonderful finish. Keeper's got absolutely no chance. Who, to be fair to them, I know they've lost 3-0. I thought their keeper was really good yesterday. Looked a very, very competent keeper. I think the save from Michael Smith later on, it just kind of detailed that he was a good goalkeeper yesterday. It's a really, really clever finish right into the bottom corner.
Yeah, I have to agree. Just 3-0 and just kind of, I won't say there were lots of nerves, but just that was it then. Very few times this season have we actually put a game to bed. And I felt that third goal did just that, really. Just, that's it. The 3 points are all sewn up and we can just relax a little bit.
You say that, James. That came on 68 minutes. That was on 70 minutes was the first rendition of 3 points away, ole, ole. And I turned round. I turned round because Andy, who sits next to me, he was also down there yesterday. And I was just going, not yet. Too early. Too early. Seen this way too many times before. I know. Just before we move on to 3-word match review, James, can we just have a word on Shay Charles here?
Of course we can. Yeah.
What a performance yesterday. And he's just what a player. Like, genuinely, what a player yesterday. He was outstanding yesterday, and to go through a performance like that in a game where midfielders are having to fly into tackles. It really, really calm and composed yesterday. It's just that, innit? That he makes time stand still. I watched that programme when I was a kid, Bernard's Watch. I don't know if you ever watched it as a lad. Yeah. I feel like he's got one of them in his pocket. Do you know what I mean? Because the time that he has on the ball, like, he gets balls in,
difficult situations, and he comes away with it all the time and finds the right pass. I think it's just his ability to read the game. Obviously, he's by far a very technical footballer, but he just knows how to move his body in the right direction to just give him that little bit of space and a bit of time on the ball. He knows when to go back. He knows when to play a forward pass, and he just seems to make the right decision all the time. He has made a few mistakes, and it's like, oh my God, Shay Charles has made a mistake. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's such a shock when it happens, because it just very rarely happens at all, to be honest. But yeah, I think he's had another fantastic game. Obviously, there was kind of a little bit of a discussion beforehand. Does he play? Does he not? Will he get a yellow card? Will he not? Obviously, he's on a knife edge. He's on 9 at the moment. So for those that don't know, how do you not know? But if he picks up a yellow card at Norwich, and if he'd have picked a yellow card up at Plymouth, he would miss the next 2 games, which obviously does include the derby. It does reset after Norwich, by the way. So if he were to pick one up if he doesn't get one, and then he picks one up in the derby, which, I mean, if you are a betting person, begambleaware.org, it is nailed on that he will get one in that game on Sunday. But yeah, there was question marks whether, should he play, shouldn't. Quite a lot of people were like, no, we don't need to play him. Yeah. But yeah, just what a player.
I think the thing is, I was thinking, I've had a lot of time, obviously, on the driving. I was thinking about this. If Southampton managed to keep hold of him in the summer, irrespective of who the manager is, irrespective of all the rest of it, genuinely, if they managed to keep hold of him, because we've heard a lot of whisperings this year about a lot of Premier League clubs showing an awful lot of interest and being very, very keen to take him. And Southampton will make their money, and ultimately, if they get, 15 to 20 million pound, because remember, he's not our player, so obviously he'll go for a decent fee and everybody will go, oh yeah, he's worth that. But let's say he goes for like 15 to 20 million quid. If he goes for that, he'll go in and be in and around a Premier League setup, which is ultimately, I think, where his career will play out. If he doesn't, he's the best player in the league next year. Like, genuinely, there is a genuine debate for him in a brilliant team, like which Southampton will be next year. You would expect them to be a top 3 team next year. There is a genuine shout for, if he has the level of influence for that side that he has had for us this year, because he is a huge catalyst as to why we are where we are. We've gone from Will Vaulks playing that role, and Will Vaulks was good, don't get me wrong, but we've gone from him playing that role to this lad. The level is just astronomically different. Like, it's so far apart. When you actually put the 2 players side by side, you would genuinely think they're playing a different game. Like, it's ridiculous. And I think we have given him a platform that allows him to showcase all of these talents. And I would imagine, again, if there is a certain manager in charge of Southampton come the start of next season, he will do exactly the same, and they will do everything that they can to keep hold of him in the summer, because, again, if a certain manager goes there, I would expect him to walk in and say, I will move here, but he has to stay for another year. Because realistically, he's one of the main reasons why we're actually even able to talk about playoffs here.
Yeah, I could see kind of a Premier League club buying him and then just loaning him back Southampton for
that would make
season.
A lot of sense. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And then kind of seeing what he does in a better squad, and then having another look at him. I mean, saying that, what is he? Is he 20, 21 years
21.
old now?
21 years old.
Yeah, we have seen younger Premier League players break through, but I think in that position that he plays, he's kind of dictated by slightly older players, isn't it? Really,
you've got to. Yeah, I mean, realistically, I was looking at I was thinking about sort of landing spots for him and where would be good. Like, could you go to a Big 6 club? Yes, but you might get lost. Like, you might get lost in a Big 6 club. It's happened. He come from Man City's academy. He had to go out, all the rest of it. Everton.
Yeah.
If he goes to Everton, he plays week in, week out for them and becomes a really, really influential player for them. West Ham, another one. There are all of those type of mid-table clubs, and he'll get a move from there within inside of 24 months if he carries on playing as well as he is at the minute. Outstanding footballer.
I agree. I've got to bring this comment up from Ted. Iofa actually came here as a right wing back, and that's where he should stay, out of the way. Ted, clearly not a Dominic Iofa fan. Then Quite clearly. Right, let's go on to 3-word match reviews. I do want to touch on the referee as well because yellow cards, they're plenty. 3-word match review at WTID Pod if you're not already one of the 16,000 people that follow us over there. Chilt says what we needed. Matt's Stairway to Devon. I like that one. Ben,
that one.
Gass's class. Harry, we are back in brackets until Tuesday. Glenn's gone with perfect away performance. Alex Young, Shay Charles, bowler. Scott, 3 points away. S25 Owl's gone with 6 points. Thank you. South Owl, 2 more, lads. 2 more. I'm guessing that means 2 more games.
2 more points.
Oh yeah, 2 more. Yes, 2 more for the 50.
Don't you worry, I've not forgotten where that big R is.
Yep. Scott's gone with Djeidi. Chris should have been 6. Yeah, could have easily been 6 to be fair. Rob's gone with West Brom killed season. Could say that. Otley Bermuse, what a relief. Lee, Barmy, fucking army. Anthony, very nice win. Ross has gone with rest Shay Tuesday. Paul, brilliant away win. I'll read one more out. And NT Beast has gone with no Charles yellow and a little fist emoji. Yes, it's almost like that was obviously the 3 points was the main thing, but the second best thing was that he didn't get a yellow card, which is crazy when you think about it. Talking of yellow cards, though, oh my, obviously watching it, there was a lot of chant. Like every time he got a yellow card out of his pocket, it was loud.
Ooh.
Was that all the fans doing that, or was that
that was just Wednesday fans? It was just Wednesday fans. It was any time he got a yellow card out of his pocket. I think it was after the James Beadle and Barry Bannon booking, which, let's be honest, neither of those two can argue. Fucking hell. The James Beadle one was, I think, one of the worst instances of time wasting I've ever seen in my life.
It tells him about time wasting, and then he goes to the fucking ball and moves it. I'm like...
Do you know what the thing that made me laugh about it, James, was the way he ran to the ball was like he was going to kick it. No. And then he got 2 yards away and then bent down to pick it up. Had he gone, put his hand up and made this whole big, I'm really, really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. Had he done that, I would have completely bought it. It was the fact that he sprinted towards it and then just picked it up. And then Bannon's sarcastic clap for the ref. So,
is that what he did? We watching it, you couldn't see what he'd done.
Two immediate yellow cards, the 2 most obvious yellow cards you're ever going to see.
This is the thing, actually, because I was like, what is this ref doing? And the Windass one, I genuinely didn't realise it had kicked the ball away, but obviously, then quickly got pointed out to me. But then, so that's a yellow card. Yep. I've just disappeared, haven't I?
James has disappeared again. Just for anybody who did have 9:17 or 1 hour 17 minutes into the podcast on their bingo sheet for when James's camera packs up, please mark your cards and hand them in.
Do you know what? It worked on the other day. It worked absolutely fine. I've no idea why it's suddenly now not working. But
don't work Sundays.
Yeah, clearly not. But when it got pointed out to me that we kicked the ball away, and like you said, them 2 yellow cards were nailed on. That was a nailed on yellow card as well.
Yeah.
The thing for me is just the consistency, because how many times have we seen teams come at Hillsborough and just time waste like mad, and it never ever gets pulled up? This was in what minute? It was in 20 odd minutes or whatever it was. That he's brandishing the yellow cards, and then after that it was literally everyone. And there was one, I think, I'm not going to pronounce his name, the Plymouth player in the first half. I think it was a tackle on Windass. That wasn't a yellow card either. Like it was just brandishing him like he was. I mean, someone said handing more yellow cards out than Moonpig, and I thought that was quite funny.
There were a few yesterday. I think I had less of an issue with the yellow cards that were being given. I had more of a issue with the way in which that he ran the game yesterday, because it seemed to be at times that he wanted to let the game flow, because there were a couple of challenges that you just kind of let fly and you were just thinking, oh, okay, it might be one of those where you kind of get away with a couple of things. But then it was, as you say, it was pulling them up for really stupid, niggly fouls. And it's that, we go back to it again, it's the inconsistency that will bother you. Interestingly, for anybody who's not watched it yet, go and have a watch of the behind the scenes, so the Inside the Match Day, which has been released by the club, because that's really interesting when he's talking to the officials, because they, when the officials talking to Bannon and the captains and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
He's talking about it. He's going, I will do this and I will do this. And if there is this, then there's this, but I will do this. And then I'm going to do this. And just come and talk to me. And after 5 minutes, it was clear head loss, like pure head loss. Because I think Djeidi Gassama must have been fouled by the same player 4 times in, I think, the first 15 minutes. And they were all niggly fouls, but he was actually counting them out. Like he was making a big song and dance about it of like 1, then 2, then 3. Normally when a referee gets to 3, that's your booking.
Yeah.
He just carried on. I thought he was going to run out of fingers by the end of it.
Yeah, you're right. Normally he's like kind of 3, and they point them out, don't they? 1, 2,
Yeah.
and then you go, that's your yellow card for persistent fouling.
Yeah.
Consistency is what we want.
Yeah.
And we just there is none. And do you know what? I always feel bad bashing the referee because you're on a hiding to nothing. Being a referee, you never get any praise for being a good ref. It's always you've done this wrong, you've done that wrong, and obviously, there's always one team that's more hard done to all the time, and there's always an agenda and everything else. And obviously, I know we need them and stuff, but I wouldn't mind if, like I said, them yellow cards that we got, if that was happened every week, but it doesn't. No. It's almost like it's like the added on minutes, extra time at the end.
Oh, don't. Because
why do we get 15 minutes at the start of the season and then we get 5 now?
Here's the one for next year, just for everybody, so you're all well aware of it. It's the goalkeeper 8-second rule. That'll last for 3 weeks, and you are guaranteed Shay Charles is going to give away a indirect free kick 4 yards out at the start of next year.
Have you seen what the referee has to do as well, by the way?
No.
So it's 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So the first 3 seconds are counted in the referee's head.
Yeah.
And then the next 5 seconds are done like countdown. So he has to put his arm up in the air like this, and he has to put he has to do his arm down like he's doing some sort of 80s dance move.
I would be honestly, if you were on that, if you're a player, by some miracle, any Sheffield Wednesday player ends up listening to this. If you are a player on that pitch next year going, counting it wrong, ref, counting it wrong, ref, counting it right, no, your arm's in the wrong place, right, just to try and put him off. Can you imagine that? Well,
I don't know if you're watching the football today, Arsenal Man U, and Fernandes scores the free kick. They've counted the wall at 11.2 yards.
Yeah.
But obviously it should only be 10. But you see the referee actually counts out 10 paces.
Yeah.
So is he going to be counting 5 correctly? Is he going to? I mean, is he going to? Are people going to get a yellow card and then they're going to time it and go? It was 7.6 when he's.
That's it, James, isn't it? There's going to come some point in the future where somebody gets hold of football and goes, "This is fucking stupid." This is legitimately stupid. Because who decided to do the arm rather than just 5, 4, 3 with the fingers?
Well, I'm guessing they probably
bit in the head.
I'm guessing they probably can't see it from the
but
halfway
even if you
line.
just start, if you see an official just hold their hand up, because I'm sorry, if you're a goalkeeper and your eyesight is that bad that you can't see a referee on the halfway line holding up 5, 4, 3, 2, what the fuck are you doing in professional football in goal? What are you doing in goal? Genuinely, just baffling, absolutely baffling. But yeah, going back to the referee and his officiating team yesterday. The other one was the linesman as well, who was on the near side closest to Sheffield Wednesday fans. My God, did he make some poor decisions yesterday? And that was just the ball going out of play. There was so many times where the ball looked, and again, I'm aware that he's got a better view than all of us, but there were so many times where you were thinking, that's out of play, or that's not come off that player. And it genuinely looked clear as day from where we were. Really, really poor officiating yesterday. But why change the habit of a lifetime in the EFL?
But also, we won 3-0, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, who gives a fuck? Plenty of that next week, boys. Plenty of that on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the games coming up then. We'll try and squeeze the other thing in if we can.
Yeah.
Norwich away on Tuesday. This fixture at home and the reverse fixture was equally as unimportant because nobody gave 2 fucks about that game whatsoever. No. Same things happening again. Don't really care about travelling to Carrow Road unless you're one of those that are going, I guess. We drew. They drew 1-1 with Oxford on Friday night. They sit 10th in the league, 6 points outside the P word. We can leapfrog them if we beat them
Yeah.
on Tuesday, and we did beat them 2-0 at our place earlier on. Last time we won at Carrow Road. Do you want to hazard a guess as when that is? If you've looked, then you're cheating, but go on.
Late. I haven't looked. Late 2000s. I've got no idea. I'm just
2009. So the same season that we last won at Plymouth. So
I'm just trying to think. I think the most memorable game that I've been down there was the 2-2 where the Forestieri scored from. I mean, Forestieri might as well have been in Ipswich from where he hit it. Like, it was so far out. But yeah, my favourite one from that game was actually the Stephen Fletcher one, where it was like bundled in at the back post and he's gone off like madness. Yeah, great. That was a very entertaining game of football. I think like Good Friday game or something like that. It was.
I think it was something like that. It was on Sky. I know that much. 2009. Jermaine Johnson with a goal that day, 1-0 win.
Wow.
It's been 4 defeats and 2 draws since that win. So again, as just like with the Plymouth one, very overdue a win. And as we talked about at the top, Danny seems to we do seem to win those games this season when we haven't won at places for quite some time. How do you feel we're going to fare in that game on Tuesday?
Norwich are just a slightly more expensively assembled squad like ourselves in terms of quality. Like, they're so unpredictable, Norwich. Like, again, if at the start of the season, if you'd have told me that Norwich will finish where they did last year, 7th, I'd have believed you. Like, if you'd have told me that they're going to finish 7th or 6th again, I'd have fully believed you. They are just really unpredictable. I know they've had a lot of injuries this season, but Josh Sargent obviously being back for them is a huge plus point. I think he scored on Friday as well, didn't he? Yeah. I ultimately think, James, that this is the one that you do need. Obviously, you need to win the one next Sunday, but this should be a fixture that you're targeting because, again, if we're just going over the course of the season, I know this is a strange week, obviously, with the fixture on the weekend. We do well against the sides around us, in and around us. So actually, again, another thing and also if you're a coach, it's a really easy team talk, isn't it? 2 things: play yourself into my thoughts for Sunday. And secondly, I've just forced you to be away from your family since Friday. Do not let that be a wasted trip.
Yeah.
End of discussion. Like, go and just go out and get something. I really, really hope so. I really hope we get something on Tuesday night because that is a long old poke again.
Well, you mentioned Josh Sargent being back. He's scored, just a quick tally up there, 8 goals in his last 8 games.
Cool.
He's on fire. He's a couple of braces in there as well. So he hasn't scored in every single game. But yeah, he's got 4 in his last, he scored on Friday. He didn't score against Blackburn. He got 2 against Stoke. Got 1 against Hull. But to be fair, they haven't really been winning any of those games either.
Really patchy side at this season, Norwich, which is they've kind of gone from that. Is an ex-player of theirs. They've kind of gone from that Darren Huckabee zone of like perennial playoff team to now mid-table team. This season, and he won't be there next year if they don't get into the playoffs. Him and Borja Sainz won't be there next year. So again, important game for both sides.
Very similar to Plymouth, though. They've only lost 4 times at home. They are very much unlike us. They are very much a home side this season. Away, they've only won 4 times away from home. Terrible. So but this was Plymouth before we played them, and we seem to do all right against them. But again, I know you said we need to a winner do the world a good and stuff, but it's just one of those where we just don't really care. Like, do you know what? It doesn't really. You want the confidence to go into the next game and everything else, but it really don't really.
You don't want to take a slapping, I suppose, because Norwich away last year was a difficult game. If you remember, it was Bailey Cadamartri who scored and ended up with the Joker sort of smile photo. But we were never in that game. We lost 3-1. Was it 3 or 2-1?
I think it was 3-1. Yeah,
3-1. Ashley Barnes scored.
Yeah, early in the second half, they came out and it was like bang bang or something, and it was like. That's it. Game over. Just
for me, it's one of those games where, again, I think the game at the weekend, irrespective of it being a derby and who it's against, that's a tricky game. That's a more tricky game on paper. You're playing second in the league. This is an opportunity for you to go and pick up some good points. So go and do it.
I know obviously we're going to be talking a lot about this game on Sunday throughout the week, but do you enjoy the Steel City derby?
Absolutely not, James. No, to be fair, James, I enjoy the build up to it and all of the stuff leading up to it. The 90 minutes is always fraught with nerves. However, this is the first time, and I know we said this in November, and obviously come 12:25, I'll feel very different on Sunday. I still don't feel there's really much pressure on us. No. All of the pressure, and I'm not just saying this. All of the pressure is on the other side of the city. They're level on points with Leeds now after Leeds' defeat tonight. They're level on points with Leeds. Burnley can still catch them. At present, with the goal difference, if Burnley get level on points with them, Burnley pick them for autos rather than them.
It's a big difference. 15 goals as well.
They've spent an awful lot of money, irrespective of what Chris Wilder will tell you if he's done.
They've only spent about $1.5 million, I think, haven't they?
Yeah, of course. And of course, they don't spend any money on wages, even though they've got the fifth highest wage budget in the division. This is a very important game for them, aside from the derby perspective. Remove the derby side of it. This is a side you are going to mid-table away from home. You should be winning. Like, no ifs or buts here. You couple that in with the fact of all of the... Again, I'm really not meaning to dig the other side of the city out because they'll get plenty of that this week. The stupidity of their manager post the game. After that, you cannot lose. Because if you lose, you'll have Chloe Bannon, you'll have Laura Hoods, you'll have every single Sheffield Wednesday fan, you'll have Danny dancing around in front of the away end. I would genuinely bring out Chloe Bannon for the pre-match. Like, genuinely bring her out. Come on, Chloe. Come on out, love. Her and Laura, bring them out. Parade them around in front of the away. I would do all of that. You mentioned it before off air, James. Get our warm-up shirt sponsored by Greg's or like anything, just because there was such a fanfare made after that game from a number of Sheffield United fans. And the other thing is, again, I'm aware I don't live in the city, so I don't have to deal with them day to day.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I know. There is also an awful lot of posturing and swaggering going around online for a side who, when you speak to some fans, they will claim that they're bored, that wins a lot of games 1-0. And their last big quote-unquote game against Leeds on that Friday night didn't go too well. So it's again, if you're them, it's a really big game. From our perspective, I think you're still going into it as much as you can in a Steel City derby. It's as much of a free hit pressure's off for us because we're not playing for anything.
Do you know what as well? This fixture, there's not been many times. I go back to kind of our promotion season in League One to 2012 when we've been fairly matched. There's not been. It's always been one side's being better than the other one going into the game. But you're right, like literally, I'm going into it like I wasn't no nerves, obviously nervous because you don't want to get dicked and stuff. But I'm not. The pressure is all on them. They need to win this game. They have to win. If they, because if they lose, I know they've got a game in midweek. I don't know who they've got on Tuesday. I've not really looked. But if they don't win that one, Christ Almighty, like the wheels could be falling off big time. And it's just going to be. Well, I mean, look, do you know what? I would absolutely love it. Let's say,
go on, go Keegan.
I would just love it to beat them and to be in third after we've beaten them. Because it'll be sod's law that we beat them and Leeds will lose and Burnley will lose and they'll be no different or that one of them two will slip up on Tuesday and they'll be top at league by the time they play.
Yeah.
And it won't actually matter if you know what I mean. But yeah, I would love it to beat them and then them slip down into third. And you know what? I'm actually glad in a way that we're not like 5th or 6th. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just looking at the league table now. West Brom 55 points, Bristol City on 53, Blackburn 52. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that we're not there. And we're like thinking, oh fucking hell, we've got to win this game as well.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm glad that we're just mid-table. And
if this game had been January, Oh my God, there would have been like so much more flapping from our side of things. Because again, let's call a spade here. The two teams, the two 11s on paper, they are so far apart. And I know that will, you know, some people will be listening to this going, you can't fucking say that, it's United and all the rest of it.
How's it go?
Just, you can't fucking say that, it's United, fucking, anyway. I genuinely, if you look at those two teams on paper, just remove the emotion from it for a second, there's no comparison. They have got a better squad. Like they have got a better squad. They've got a better bench. They've got a better 25-man squad than we have got. I would argue we have got one or two players who would get into their side.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, it's Shay Charles, Gassama, Bannon.
Yeah,
maybe not even Bannon. Looking at who they've got in the middle. Like, do you know what I mean?
For me, the two players who get into it are Shay Charles and Djeidi Gassama for Raksaki. Like those are the two players. Like aside from that, you look at the number 10s, you look at the forwards, you look at everything else, and every metric it is a better side than ours on paper. And it is the first time in a long time, and I know we said this in November, that is the case. Like it's and Sheffield United fans echoed this when there was a lot less emotion and a lot kind of like less riding on it from them. They were saying, yeah, 100%, we've got a much better squad on paper. It is. All of the pressure is heaped on that side. And again, Ev's put it in the chat. And again, thanks, Ev, for sticking with us for this long, obviously, as a Sheffield United fan, because we've obviously got to the meat of the bit now. He said that Wilder's actions in the aftermath was pure stupidity. Did he not realise we had another game in March? Because the ammunition that was given to that playing squad post that derby, I'm all for going out and celebrating it. I'm all for him going down the boozer and clapping along with songs and all the I'm all for that. The minute you start standing on a chair and starting up a chant about an opposition colleague, not just a manager, he's a colleague, bear in mind, that you are going to have to bump into him pretty much every single year that you play football. Like you're going to your paths are going to cross at some point, is the most ridiculous thing that you could do. Like the most ridiculous thing you could do. And I think, again, there was some, not all, there was a lot of Sheffield United fans who really liked it. And I'm sure, you know, Megson beating his chest towards the United end in 2012, it was great. That, to me, in a nutshell, just symbolises why Chris Wilder will never have the same mutual respect that I suppose Neil Warnock does from Sheffield Wednesday fans. Everybody is kind of like begrudgingly respectful of Neil Warnock as a Wednesday fan. He's like your Sheffield dad who's sort of like, you think he's a bit of a knobhead, but he's all right, really.
Yeah.
He just doesn't get the banter. The stuff about the Shay Charles stuff as well of, you know, we could have signed him. He's a player that we've been interested in. You know, we'd be really keen to sign him. No, you wouldn't. Shut up, man. He was available to come to us on the 27th of August. Like, if you'd have wanted him, you'd have got him because you've got money.
Is that mate that tries to be funny that just really ain't funny? You just want to tell him just to shut up. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not on the same wavelength. Or Matt's just said, Wilder doesn't have class. Yeah, I have to agree. I agree with that one. This you can celebrate a win against your nearest and dearest without just being like that. Do you know what I mean? And I just hope, I'd love to see what Danny Reel would do.
Yeah.
Do you know, had he won? Because we're all saying, like, you know, he's got class and all that. I genuinely hope that he does actually, if we do beat them, does show that.
But genuinely, James, I'm saying all of this. If Danny were to, I don't know, go to the Park Hotel or the Crown afterwards and he was stood up on chairs singing about like Chris Wilder and all the rest of it, I would absolutely hate it. Like, genuinely, I would hate it. I'd be so embarrassed for him. Like,
because this game isn't for the manager.
No,
it's not, is it? I know he's one of them, you know, one of our own, and all that bollocks and stuff, and everything else. It's not for you. That the game is for all the fans that are sat in the stand week in, week out, year in, year out. You know, since they were born or whatever. This game is just for them. You do the talking on the pitch. You do the celebration after, then let the fans just run with it and let them let us do the standing on the table and singing about whatever else. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Let us do that. You don't need to. You shouldn't have to as a manager. I mean, I suppose they would talk about kind of atmospheres and stuff like that. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe that's how they have to get the songs started. The manager has to start them to get them chanting.
But that's another thing because I mean, we both spoke about it in obviously November about kind of like the atmosphere up until 60 minutes when they scored was very, very nervous.
Yes.
That can't be the case on Sunday for us. We have to turn up, and there has to be constant backing of those 11 players. No matter what, no matter what happens, or no matter how it turns out, there has to be. If you are going to turn up for one game at Hillsborough and make it loud, it has to be this one. Like, again, we spoke about it before, like James, like Leeds, there wasn't really much of one. We spoke about it earlier, obviously, on the pod. Leeds, there wasn't really much of one. A couple of others, there haven't really been much, and it's been incredibly, incredibly flat. This is not a game where a misplaced pass is done to get on the players' backs. This is a game like Peterborough, where those 11 players who are on the pitch need you, and you need to make it as hostile and as horrible for the opposition 11.
And you know what? We don't give the club much credit at all, really, recently. But the one thing I would do credit them with is we've given them the same amount of tickets that they gave us, which means that they are and they've like blocked off the front section of Leppings Lane End, so they're as high up as they can possibly be. Fair play. Like you could have easily just given the full away end and whatever else,
which we've done before.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. And you know what? If they'd have given us all the away end, fair play. Like, you know, do it, but they didn't. They gave us very few tickets, so we're going to give them the same amount. So fair play on that one. I think that's a great move, because there will be there's going to be a certain section of tickets not sold. And we know what Chancery's model's like. So fair play on that. Right, let's wrap things up. If you do want to listen to us more, if you want to get more of this content, then head over to Patreon, patreon.com/WTID pod. We are going to be recording extra time straight after this. We're going to be talking about Danny Röhl and the whole speculation of him going to Southampton. So sorry to depress everyone.
I was just about to say, it's not a great sell, is it? Strapping.
But look, it's born from how passionate you were on the WhatsApp chat on Thursday after his press conference. So we're going to be talking about that and getting my thoughts and your thoughts, Matt. And also, just because this comment got over 100 replies, or this question, should I say, I asked how long it would be until we see Premier League football at Hillsborough. So we're going to be talking about that, and if indeed it will ever happen, and what needs to happen for that to take place, and if indeed we even want it to happen, which I know sounds a ridiculous question, but we are going to be talking about that. So patreon.com/WTID pod is where you need to head over to find that. You'll be able to listen to that extra time episode in the morning. And thank you very much for joining us, everyone in the comments. Do join us on Wednesday for the debate show. We're going to be having the lads from down the road joining us. It's going to be lots of banter flying around. I was going to say friendly banter, probably not. Bring your A game, because you're going to need it. Get in the comments. Let's make it an episode that's one to remember, all for the right reasons, of course. So join us. That's going to be Wednesday at 8:00. You know the score by now, and we'll make it a good one. So make sure you join us for that one. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you all on Wednesday.